The Nintendo Switch 2 has officially launched, and incredibly, some developers are already claiming to emulate it. But can that really happen so soon? In today's video, we're breaking down the truth behind the so-called Switch 2 emulator, how it compares to real emulators like Yuzu and Jinx, and why you should be cautious about early hype. Yes, the Switch 2 is now in players' hands, and as with many new consoles, developers and researchers are beginning to explore its internals. Reports suggest that firmware and development files are starting to appear in underground communities. These findings often form the foundation of future emulator projects. But to be clear, we're only at the very early stages. A project called Pound recently appeared on GitHub, claiming to be the first open-source emulator for the Nintendo Switch 2, using the codename ONS. The developer mentions starting with CPU emulation, with GPU support planned in the future. However, here's the catch. The current code is largely AI-generated placeholders, not functioning emulator logic. It doesn't load firmware or boot any games. Some parts even borrow concepts from older emulators like Yuzu and Jinx. The developer themselves has admitted it's just a proof of concept. Yuzu became successful only after years of community work and research on the original Switch, which had been fully reverse-engineered. Developers had access to deep system behavior, firmware, and GPU architecture. In contrast, Pound doesn't yet have access to that level of technical detail for the Switch 2. There's no working firmware, no known GPU architecture implementation, and no actual game compatibility. It's still an early experiment, not a usable tool, not right away. Projects like Pound show the scene is interested, but we're still a long way from anything playable. Building a proper emulator takes years of development, testing, and documentation. The good news? Now that the hardware is out. Interestingly, someone on Reddit pointed out that the key developer is just 16 years old. Age shouldn't really be a factor in judging skill, but it does show how early and experimental this project still is. Antique, the person behind Sudachi, replied, "Looking at the repository, the ARM directory contains a CPU.h header file with some very basic code, something similar to what I've written for a PS1 emulator countless times. Under the FS directory, it's basically a copy and paste of the Yuzu code and everything else is blank. Emulation is inevitable but slow and steady. Tools like Yuzu or Jinx may start exploring Switch 2 once it's safe and legally appropriate to do so." Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next one.